And we are back. Welcome to my predictions for the Olympics women's football quarter-finals after a final group stage round where for the second time out of 3, I got all 6 women's predictions correct. 6 correct results. I don't actually think I got any correct scores, but we got 6 out of 6 in terms of the results. Like I say, for the second time out of 3 rounds of group stage matches. So I will happily take that as we look ahead to tomorrow's women's quarterfinals. If you want to know my predictions for today's men's quarterfinals, you can check those out in the video link available for you in the top corner of your screen right now. And whilst you're over there, please do consider checking out the community page where you can now have your say on who you believe will be progressing to the quarterfinals in both the into the semi-finals in both the men's and the women's competitions. We got some votes down in the community page so you can have your say on all of that. And whilst you're down there, why don't you consider dropping a like on this video if you enjoy all of my prediction series, and subscribing to the channel if you are new around here, because we will be covering the semi-finals, the bronze medal matches, and the finals as well. And without any further ado, let's get into it. The women's quarterfinals are taking place tomorrow, where sadly we have had to say goodbye to Nigeria, Zambia, Australia and New Zealand, as only 4 sides were eliminated from the group stages. But it does leave us with 4 mouth-watering quarterfinals and 8 sides that are all very, very talented, it has to be said, but only 4 will be making it through to the semi-finals. And we'll start off with the opening game of the day, which is of course the United States taking on Japan. 2 sides that are playing very, very well so far in this tournament, one of which has been very front-footed and dominant, one of them which has sat back, picked their moments and struck with precision. So does make it an interesting one to call. One good thing that I always love to look at is obviously these head-to-head records. It's one of the best things I use to determine who I think is going to win matches. And these 2 sides met as early as April this year in the She Believes Cup, where it was America that came out on top in a 2-1 victory. And ironically, that is exactly the same scoreline that I am going to be going for today. I do think that Japan are definitely capable of taking America to extra time. However, I just don't think they're going to have enough. I think the attacking prowess, the style of play, the ability of those American players, as good as Japan are defensively, they have been overrun when they came up against Spain, and I can see it happening again against America here. We will see though. Like I said, I think they're capable of forcing extra time, but ultimately I think even if it went that far, America would end up coming out on top, and I think it is going to be America that come out on top in 90 minutes, but who knows? Japan had a good tournament so far. They may surprise people today, or should I say tomorrow. On to the second match, which is Spain taking on Colombia. 3 out of 3 for Spain. Colombia getting through as one of the best third-place teams. To be honest, it's not really looking good for them. To be fair to them, they have played well in all of their group matches. They were unlucky against France. They were unlucky against Canada. And they were able to win their other game. Whereas Spain just never really looked phased in this competition. They've got so much quality in their starting 11 and their reserves. They've beaten every single one of their opponents they came up against easily. They don't concede many goals. And I just think it's going to be another win for Spain. And I don't think many people are going to be too surprised about that. The question, of course, is going to be the scoreline. I'm going to go for 2-0. They've not actually been that high scoring so far in this competition, Spain, but they've just been doing enough to get results. And that's what they did at the World Cup last year as well. They just grind and grind, wear teams down, and eventually they all end up succumbing. And I think it's going to be the same for Colombia in tomorrow's match. But you never know. I love to see an upset, but I think this would certainly be the biggest upset of the day if it were to be Colombia to get a result against Spain. On to match 3, which is the Cheats of Canada taking on the Germans. And look, like I say, you got to give credit to them. They won all 3 of their matches. They've got themselves into this position, and the players on the pitch have deserved their opportunities. But it is what it is. I personally don't believe they should be here, but now that they are here, we do have to talk about it. They're coming up against a Germany side that have played well in this competition so far, but obviously were well beaten by the other North American side still in this competition, which is, of course, the United States. And I really think this is a tough one to call. I think on paper, Germany will be considered the favourites in terms of player for player, but again, you look at actual performances of these sides, you look at the resiliency of the Canadian side, and you look at how frail Germany have looked defensively so far in this tournament, and I don't think it's as clear-cut as people think it is. Like, it does baffle me a little bit that a side that wins all 3 of their group stage matches can go into a knockout tie like this considered to be the massive underdogs, and I really don't think Canada are the massive underdogs, but it's the way the bookmakers are saying it at the moment. It's the way that the football predictions are saying at the moment. It's Germany's game to lose. Personally, I can't really split these two sides at the moment. Like I say, Germany probably just about on paper the stronger side, but from ability and what I've seen so far in this competition, I think Canada should be considered the favourites. So with that said, I'm going to put it straight down the middle as a 1-1 draw. I can't see it being a high-scoring game. None of Canada's games have been high-scoring so far. It's been about resiliency and picking their moments. And like I say, Germany haven't been at their best. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. If I'm then going to pick a side to win it in extra time or penalties, I would go for Canada. I really do. I just don't see it with Germany so far in this tournament. Canada have been very good. And like I say, on the pitch, they've deserved their position in this competition's quarterfinals. So I reckon they're going to make it through to the semis. And I'm going to go for that. 1-1 draw, Canada in extra time and penalties. And that leaves the French taking on Brazil in the final quarter-final. And look, obviously the emotional scenes of Marta being sent off for Brazil at her 6th Olympics with Brazil. She's never won an Olympic medal. She's never won a World Cup with Brazil. She's one of the biggest icons of the game. And ultimately, she could have ended up playing her last game for Brazil with that red card the other day, unless Brazil can get through to the semi-finals without her against the French today. And look, France have not been very good in this tournament. I spoke about it in the last round of predictions. I predicted the French to lose, and they lost. They have not been very good. That said, Brazil have also not been very good. This is a real battle of sides that you expect a lot better from, that have got through purely on the individual ability of their players, but as teams have really not looked very good in any of their matches so far, respectively. And now they come up against each other in a match where the things you've got to go on is, again, head-to-head record. These two sides met in the World Cup last year. On that day, I predicted a 2-1 win for France, and it was a 2-1 win for France. On top of that, the French are at home. They're expected to deliver. That should give them the boost, but arguably has been working against them because it looks like they've been succumbing to the pressure a little bit over the course of this tournament so far. However, I do still think on paper the French are a better side. I went for 2-1 last year. It ended up being 2-1. I'm going for 2-1 again this year. France to make it through to the semi-finals. And I believe, if I've got my brackets right, which obviously I didn't do yesterday, and I'm even going to just quadruple check on my phone before I submit this review. Yes, I was going to be right. It is going to be a North American semi-final and a European semi-final to set up the final. I have got Canada and America competing the first semi-final. I've got Spain and France competing the second semi-final. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments section below. It's going to be a fascinating couple of days across the Olympics football. Very interested to see who makes it to the semi-finals in both the men's and the women's. Thank you very much for watching once again. I'll be back for the men's semi-final predictions the day before those matches start. I'll see you there.